TitleMatchNetwork.com.
I've said it. I actually said it on that CNN documentary after the Benoit thing. They interviewed me about Benoit, and the one thing about Chris, man, it was always about the match. A lot of people are about themselves, making sure they, we talked about Bill Goldberg. He was very concerned about making himself look good, making sure he looked good, sometimes at the expense of a match or at the expense of his opponent. For Chris, it was always, what can we do to make this match better? And when you're working with somebody like that, man, it's fun.
What are your thoughts on the Benoit tragedy?
I've been, like I said before, in the nut house 3 times. And when you go in there for psychological disorders, like I have, I've been diagnosed as bipolar. I was inpatient 3 times now. Short though, 4 days one time, 7 days the other. One time I did a halfway house. So I was inpatient for 10 days in the hospital and then 20 days or so in this halfway house, which is you don't go home. You got to be in at a certain time. You got to be up at a certain time. Just monitor you. When you do that, they put you in with drug addicts. I mean, very few people are in there just for psychological. Most people who have psychological problems go off and do drugs. The drugs and the alcohol is a symptom of the psychological problem. So they treat us all together because the reason why people do drugs and alcohol is because they're mentally ill. So that's what they're treating. They're not treating the alcohol or the drugs. They're treating the mental illness. So we all get treated together. I've seen what mental illness can do. I've seen people do things that they would never, ever do in their normal day. The brain's an organ like every other organ. Your heart can get fucked up. Your liver gets fucked up. And when your brain gets fucked up, it's no longer you. And I knew Chris for over 10 years. And the Chris I knew would never have done what Chris Benoit did. So I'm not going to judge a man based on what I know mental illness can do. I'm not going to judge his entire existence and entirely who he is based on what happened after mental illness and 3 days of whatever happened. I got to base how I knew him for 10 years. And the Chris I knew wouldn't have done that. So I can't judge the Chris that did that because I don't know that Chris. I can judge the Chris I knew for 10 years before that. He was a good guy. I saw Chris, Nancy, and the son a year almost to the day before the event at Six Flags in Georgia. And I was on a roller coaster and I was in line to get on. He was getting on and he saw me. And he said, wait after you get off. So, if I got off, there he was. And, I said hi to him and Nancy and they looked like the happiest family, and that's the Chris I remember. I don't know the Chris that did what he did. Mm-hmm. And, anytime something like that happens, everyone has to sit there and think, how did it happen? What happened? I mean, it's only one man's opinion. My guess is Chris and Nancy had some kind of fight. Chris lost his cool and, became whatever he became, the monster he became, and lost control and became the mentally ill Chris and probably got into a fight with her and, lost control, killed her. My guess is at that point he realized the son was Daniel, right?
Yes.
I've seen Daniel. There was talk if he was mentally ill or not. From being around him a couple of times, I think maybe there was something going on. I can't say for sure. I think there might have been. Regardless, and if there was something going on, I think it would add to this even more. I think Chris probably, after he did what he did with Nancy, probably said, and who knows what would happen to Daniel after this, who would have taken care of him. But he would have had to live with the fact that his dad killed his mom and then killed himself or was in jail or whatever. And maybe Chris realized, knowing Daniel better than probably anyone, that Daniel would be better off not having to live with that fact. And then, my guess is that the Daniel killing was a mercy killing. And then, instead of dealing with the consequences, took his own life. But it's one person's opinion. It's that story makes me feel better about the person I knew. It doesn't justify what he did, but it puts him into perspective. And I have the unique perspective of having been in a mental institution, seeing very whacked out people, and then seeing them after the mental institution, or in the halfway house, or in outpatient, and seeing them as a very different person than when I saw in the mental institution. Those people, to me, those are two different people. The person I saw in the mental institute and in the outpatient.
I was going to ask you, let's talk about Howard as far as that came about. How did that all come about? And were you surprised that Flair called in?
Shocked. And you know what? I haven't watched it in a long time.
Do you think somebody put him up to that, by the way?
if you listen to the interview, I haven't watched it in a long time. You know, I watched it right after I did it, and I'm on right now, at least on my brother's cable system, favorite guests is that appearance. And Flair says a bunch of times in there, which I didn't catch the first time, that they had him do it because they knew the way I respected him. So it was definitely intentionally done. They knew the respect level I had for Rick, and I think that was another attempt by WWE to say, all right, here's his idol. Let's even take his idol away from him. And the funny thing is, I was happy it was Rick,
right?
Because it was fun and it was interesting, and you know, in my opinion, anyone could argue it, but I thought I beat him. You know, if you go head to head, I thought I handled myself, and I thought he had to backtrack a lot, and I think I kind of knew Flair had to do that, and Cena had to bury me when he was on too. And when I did see Rick, first time I saw Rick after that was at Moore's funeral, and it was immediate hugs and how you been, and there was definitely no animosity on either end, at least that I could tell. And I think he knew he had to do it. He probably realized I knew he had to do it. But, you know, I think he understands how much I respect and love him.
What are your thoughts on, Artie Lang? Was that all sincere? That whole about giving him your phone number? And,
Oh, yeah. And there was, for those who didn't see it, the first appearance was just an appearance, talking about gay and everything. Then I made the bet with Artie. If the Mets went further in the playoffs, he had to make out with Blue Iris, who's a 60-year-old stripper.
Right.
Mets went further. He made out with her, so I came in for that, and that's when Flair called him. Then a few weeks later, I called in, or a month or so, a few months later, whatever it was, and because I told the story that after the Flair appearance, that was such a high. And I woke up that day, and a couple of days before, real depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Did this, got myself high for the appearance, and the whole thing with Flair got me on a high, high level. As soon as I left the studio, me and my brother were getting on the subway to go. You know, I was coming back down to Atlanta, so I had to go back to Queens, get my stuff, and go to the airport. He was going to work. And when we were standing there, I went from such a high, I crashed so bad. As that train was coming, I was manic and depressed at the same time. That's why bipolars kill themselves, because they have the energy to do it because they're manic, but the depression slips in there. And it was very surreal, but as the train's coming, if my brother wasn't there, I would have jumped in front of the train. No doubt about it. He's the only thing that stopped me because I didn't want him to see that. And when I called in and told that story, Artie jumped in and started saying, I can help this guy. I want to talk to him off the air and stuff. And Howard and Robin were giving him help. The reason he felt he could help me, which he just revealed in his book, and he begged me never to tell anyone, but I'm assuming it's all right now, he told me he tried to kill himself on that phone call. He called me after the show.
Wow.
And that's why he felt he can relate, because he'd already tried it. And his agent, and he never told his parent, his mom or his sister, and he told his agent, and his agent said never reveal that because it could hurt. So he trusted me with that, and that meant a lot. Me and him did keep in touch quite a bit, and you know, now that he revealed it in the book, I feel comfortable doing it. But that's why, and Robin and Howard were giving him hell. How can an overweight heroin addict, you know,
right,
slob help this poor ex-wrestler? That's why, because he's been there and he knew what it was like. So, yeah, that was legit.
Did you get to meet Howard after your segment was over, or were you rushed out?
Yeah, no, both times.
Was he cool with you?
Awesome.
Yeah.
He's different, though.
He's very different.
Yeah, he's not
He's
the same
quiet.
person. Oh, my God. So is Austin, man. That's another thing people don't. When we first got to WWE, we had a huge meeting with all their guys, all our guys. It was in the Garden, the Madison Square Garden, and you know, everyone stood up. Taker stood up, and Vince and Pat Patterson, Briscoe. Everyone had some words about this whole angle and what was going to happen and what WWE was like. And man, Austin was shy. You could tell he didn't want to do it. When he did it, he was real quick. And still, Stone Cold's a shy guy, I think, naturally.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.